name is Scott Garbe, and I wrote the Kennedy Suite. President Kennedy was a hero in our home, in the Garbe household, and my parents had a vinyl record of his speeches that I would listen to as a kid, and my parents actually bought their first television to watch the funeral of President Kennedy. So they were deeply affected by his assassination, like a lot of people. And so I grew up around his words and his stories, and I read everything I could get my hands on, and one day, when I was in the 3rd grade, I was looking through my parents' bookshelf and I came across a book, and it details the assassination weekend. And I didn't know that the president had been murdered. And so when I opened up the book, there was a double gatefold spread of pictures of the assassination as it happened. And it was devastating. And it's one of those moments where you recognize a loss of innocence. So that was the moment for me where I realized I wouldn't go on forever. And so I read and watched documentaries, everything I could get my hands on for years and years and years. And finally, in about 1993, I'm a teacher, and I had a first job, teaching job. There are no jobs in Ontario, so we moved to Monterrey, Mexico, my future wife and I worked at a great international school there. So they said, your training will happen in Dallas, Texas. And I went, and traveling to Dealey Plaza was a revelation for me, because you stand in the geography of that place, you walk behind the picket fence in the grassy knoll, you look at there's a big X that's in the road where Kennedy was assassinated, you go up to the 6th floor, and then it really hit me, the humanity of that moment really hit me. It hit me hard. And at that moment, I really felt compelled to, I had to do something. There's something inside me that had been growing since I was a little kid, and if I didn't let it out, I was going to explode.
The fun thing about making this record was the ability to go outside of what the Junkies would normally do, and to include lots of different musicians, not only to sing but also to play on the record, and to just make it a very diverse sounding record. Like the writing sort of lends itself to different, it is about different characters and different characters' perspectives. So right off the top, we felt that each song should have its own character, and therefore when you go from song to song, you're jumping some genres, and especially at the beginning of the record, before in the narrative of the album he's actually assassinated or murdered, there's sort of this kind of dark underlying current throughout the record. And that's what really I connected with Scott's writing. I'd never found a topic that I wanted to write about like that, and it was just really exciting to sort of come across this, and that's when we sort of started to do it. And you know, when we started this project, we started this many years ago, and we've gone at it every now and then and done a song. We had no idea what we were going to do with it, but it was we liked it so much that we got to do it. And I think the thing about Scott's writing is it really brings out the personal side of this. Like, there was a real personal tragedy there. Never mind the cultural side, which he also touches on, but the personal side of it is to me the thing that really draws you into it. Because it's not, again, somebody writing about, you know, what effect did Kennedy have on the future generations. It's just like, this is just a personal tragedy. When we were getting to the completion of the record, we began to talk about how we wanted to present it. You know, there seemed to be an opportunity to do something special with it. And just luckily, I have a good friend, Ben Hilliard, he worked with John Napier, he did all the art direction for Cats and Les Miserables and Stardust Express, and worked for him for 20 years, so really knows that world. We began to talk about it, and he was blown away by it. And he just said, you know, we got to do this. We got to present this. So I sort of put it in his lap and said, okay, well, you figure out how we're going to do it. So Ben has recruited a couple of more people. Stephen Pollock, who's a lighting designer who's done work for U2 and Adele, and another friend of his, Jeff Burpee, who's great with computers. And they've put together a bit of a show around the music. So on the November 22nd and the 23rd, the 22nd is the actual 50th anniversary of the assassination, so it's kind of interesting that we were able to get that. We were going to be presenting the Kennedy Suite. It's pretty exciting, and the amazing thing is all these performers have agreed to come and do it and give their time to it, and so they'll be there and they'll be singing, and the Junkies will be the band, and it'll be a night with a lot of energy, that's for sure. A lot of energy. So I think it'll be pretty fun to be in the theater for both nights.
Shoo-wah-da-wah-da-boom. Shoo-wah-da-wah-da-boom. Shoo-wah.